Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. As you all know, that today is the 13th of August, a night before we'll be celebrating the 74th Independence Day of Pakistan, the 14th August 2021. Now, interestingly, the best part is that our program started a little late because the roads all around Islamabad are jam-packed. Mostly youngsters are all over celebrating the 14th of August, holding the flags, the fluttering flags. I mean, it was such a beautiful sight. But at the same time, it seems that everybody is out on the road and celebrating in their own ways. That is the beauty. I think that is the most beautiful part. But again, since this celebration is full of enthusiasm, full of zest, and when we look at the youngsters, it seems that, you know, the future of Pakistan seems to be really safe. The kind of love they have for their own country, it's unparalleled. But before I take more time, our production team has prepared a package on this particular occasion. Let's watch that, and after that I'll introduce you to our panelists and we'll start the show.
Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah was a torchbearer for socially and economically excluded Muslims who successfully trekked them towards the goal of independence. Mr. Jinnah always remained a proponent of moderation, gradualism, ordered progress, evolutionary politics, democratic norms, and above all, constitutionalism. These very ideas were the base of Jinnah's dream of Pakistan, an independent state for the Muslims and the other suppressed minorities of the subcontinent. Mr. Jinnah wanted Pakistan's constitutional governance to be congruent with democracy, political liberty, equality, socio-economic justice, and fraternity. He always stressed education and the role of women in making a society successful entity. He stressed the equality and equity of the minorities of Pakistan.
आजाद है, आजाद रहे। आप लोग इस मुल्क पाकिस्तान में अपनी अपनी इबादतगाहों, मस्जिदों या मंदिरों में जाने के लिए।
Jinnah told that the foreign policy of Pakistan will always intend to spread friendliness and goodwill towards the nations of the world. However, he asserted that a nation must be fully prepared against the aggressive designs of the other nations. Pakistan, since its inception, fought with many internal and external challenges and proved to the world what Jinnah said, that no power on this earth can undo Pakistan. However, Pakistan still has to work hard to become a truly prosperous state to fulfill Quaid's dream. For this nation needs to follow unity, faith, and discipline.
Now, let me quickly introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio on my right is Asma Qadeer MNA, member of National Assembly from Pakistan Tehreek Insaf. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. And we also have with us our very dear friend Javed, who's a senior journalist. Needs an introduction, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll also be talking to Dr. Riaz. He's an historian, author of more than 50 books, and majority is written about Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So he is going to join us over the telephone. But ma'am, let me put this first question to you. Since the third guest who is going to be with us on the telephone, interestingly, he has written more than 50 books. And that is a big number. Wow. And on top, majority of those books are written on Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So right before, while we were watching this beautiful report, we were talking about Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. What a graceful man, what a charismatic personality, and the way, I mean, his presence meant everything. And I think those people are really lucky who have had a chance to meet this great personality. So before we start talking about the 14th of August, let's throw light on Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah's personality, ma'am. Your take.
Okay. You know, I'm so inspired with Quaid Jinnah every time. I see there's no class like him. The way, you know, through his dress, the way he dressed and the way he carried himself. Everything about him, it merged with his dresses, his way of his, they merged with his character. With a class, cleanliness, and the way he carried, very reserved. And there was, I heard once, somewhere, if I can recall it back, that is the attaché, the media attaché of Lord Mountbatten. He said he was very much reserved and very much reflective, and he was very much quiet, but never shown, so much of excitement or exhilaration or any. There was no.
He kept his emotions under control.
And he was never. He never showed, or probably people never watched him showing, what excitement about something when he became the Governor General. But his personality, we don't have such a class. If you go through the history, I've been reading Byron and about the great personality of the world. But once I compare, there's no comparison of this. He had such a great class, and still we're not going to have. We Pakistanis are so blessed and so lucky to have such a charismatic, such a character with a great character, integrity. The old character which that reflects through his personality is that what I tell my students, that his personality tells us that yes, two things are very important. The one is character, and the other is education. There's no match, and all those things, to see it, coming out from a personality, that is Quaid-e-Azam. Just, vision, just visualize him through a picture. Everything comes out, oozing out from the great personality. And there's not a personality, there will be no personality like him, charismatic and character and, integrity and person of words. Everybody believes whatever
personality.
We cannot explain it. We cannot describe him. There's so much about him that even he used to speak in foreign language, but people understood. So what is that, So people
understood. Especially when he went to your area,
yeah.
And people said, well, this gentleman, whatever he is saying, we don't understand, but he is telling us the truth.
So look at the personality.
Imagine.
If you do not say anything, but your character is right. So this is what I always tell my students, that look, you don't have to do anything at all. Just build your character and see. The best character that you can see is as a national citizen of this country. That is great. God has blessed us, and that is Quaid-e-Azam.
We should feel so proud that, at the end of the day,
feel so good.
The leader which
talking
eventually got us this beautiful homeland, and we eventually are breathing in a free country. I think that is something which is very important. We can always see what's going on in Palestine, or for that matter in the Indian occupied illegally, this Kashmir and Jammu area. So you can well imagine the importance of freedom. Now, so coming to you, whether you talk about the personality of this particular gentleman, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, or you talk about the kind of vision he had, and again, the honor of calling him Quaid-e-Azam. Azam, great. Quaid, the leader, great leader. Not only for this subcontinent, but the entire world, sir.
I think the Muslims of the subcontinent are very lucky that they had a personality like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Quaid-e-Azam, the founding father of Pakistan. Because I think Allama Iqbal found a appropriate personality, an appropriate person, a man of vision to lead the movement for the creation of Pakistan, the Pakistan movement. And Quaid-e-Azam was cut out for this movement as a leader. And I think he did it so well. Perfect, he was a great personality. He had an aura of a wise man, a person who was so well educated, a very good communicator, and who was so committed to the ideology of Pakistan. During the Pakistan movement, when he was asked as to what is going to be the system of this new country that you are visualizing for the Muslims of the subcontinent, and he said, our system has been there for the last 1400 years, and Islam will be the system of the new state of Pakistan. So he was very clear in his vision for the future of Pakistan. He was the one who said that Pakistan will be a federal parliamentary system. It will have a federal parliamentary system, and it will be an Islamic democratic welfare state. That was his concept. But for this country, he worked so hard. Just in 7 years after the passing of the resolution of Pakistan in 1940 in Lahore, in 7 years he made it a possibility. He translated the dream of the Muslims of the subcontinent into a reality.
Absolutely.
That was the greatest achievement, and it is unparalleled in the history of the world, I think. So his critics, both Hindus and British and others, they always said that he is a man of integrity.
Absolutely.
Even his detractors could not find a fault in his character. And that was Quaid-e-Azam's greatest strength. He was a man of flawless character. He never went back on anything that he had promised to anybody. So it was Quaid-e-Azam's character which played a very crucial role in actually fueling this movement, the Pakistan movement, and leading it, and ultimately culminating into the creation of an independent state for the Muslims of the subcontinent on the night of 13th of August, and we are lucky that we are now, Pakistan is living in independent state, which was just a dream. And the dream was...
dream at one stage converted into a reality just because of
Quaid-e-Azam.
Absolutely, sir. Now, Dr. Riaz Ahmed Saab, thank you so much for taking out your time, and what an honor to have you in the program, sir. Obviously, when we were starting the program, I was introducing about you, and I was also surprised to know that you have written more than 50 books, sir. That is amazing, and most of them about Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Since we are talking about his personality, his presence, his character, his charismatic approach towards everything, and eventually resulting in the creation of Pakistan, let's shed some light on his personality through your prism, sir.
Thank you. I'm thankful to you that you have taken me on. I will tell you with reference to Stanley Walpert. Once I asked him, Walpert, you wrote first on Gokhale, then Gandhi, then Nehru. Why you wrote later on Jinnah? You know what was his answer? His answer was, as I read more and more about Hindu leaders, I thought there a great injustice has been done to Jinnah. Because he is such a great personality that Gandhi, Gokhale and Nehru do not match with him. And then he quoted a number of examples that I have learned personally from the personal character of Jinnah, these number of things. So this was a kind of the personality according to Stanley Walpert, who wrote Jinnah of Pakistan. Then I will, there are many examples about his greatness. Some people say that he was playing in the hands of somebody else. No, this is all wrong. He was such a personality with whom even the viceroys were very careful to talk with him. Then I will, there are many examples, but I will give you one example of Lord Mountbatten. When Lord Mountbatten came as the last viceroy on 23rd March 1947, he was advised by his India office that he should not directly contact Jinnah. First he should meet Gandhi, Nehru and other leaders. So he met about 35 leaders, and although he joined on 23rd March, but he meets Jinnah on 5th April and 6th April. And in that he was knocked down. There were two questions, I will cite here. There are many, but only two questions, and Jinnah's answers. First question was, Mr. Jinnah, why you are asking a division of a country which the Hindu leaders, the Hindus think as a vivisection of their mother cow? You know what was Jinnah's answer? Jinnah's answer was, my lord, when in 1932 Burma was separated from India, was not that vivisection of mother cow India? He has no answer. The other question was, Mr. Jinnah, the one Lord Mountbatten said, Mr. Jinnah, can you name any two countries in the world where there are some similarities between the two, but still they are different? You know what was Jinnah's reply? Yes, sir, my lord, I can quote many examples. He was full knowledge of world history. And his style was posing a counter question. My lord, what do you think of USA and Canada? He was helpless, he could not reply. So that was how the personality of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, with whom even the viceroys, they feared to talk with him. And because of his strong character, straightforwardness, and his honesty and integrity. So these are the qualities which make any personality a great personality. So
that is what differentiates him from the rest of the leaders. Now, Dr. Saab, one more point I would love you to throw light on is about, when we say Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, so this personality or this great leader whom we call Quaid-e-Azam, how would you rate him? Whenever we talk about the international personalities or international leaders, we talk about Nelson Mandela, we talk about a few individuals from the European side, perhaps a few from the Western side as well. But just talking about Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, let's talk about his approach, let's talk about his personality, and let's talk about his vision as not only a leader from the subcontinent, but at a global level, sir.
My friend Dr. Sikandar Riaz has written his book called The Charismatic Leadership of Jinnah. That method theory has been applied on Jinnah, and he had proved that he was much higher than any world leader of the 20th century. Then we had many dialogues which he had with Mountbatten. Campbell Johnson's book, The Mission with Mountbatten, is full of description of all what Jinnah's great personality was. And he was the person who paved the way for Pakistan. Otherwise, although the elections were held in 45-46, but still Hindu Congress and the British were not ready to pave the way. It was Jinnah who forced them through the force of his argument, his weight, and his tactics like direct action of August 1946, that he forced them to give us Pakistan. And then he was the person who used to visualize far ahead of other things. When 3rd June plan was finalized, they thought that Mountbatten will be the common Governor General of both India and Pakistan. But Jinnah kept silence, and on 9 and 10 June 47, Muslim League urged Quaid-e-Azam to become the Governor General. So Liaquat Ali Khan, in his 2nd July 47 letter to Mountbatten, conveyed to him that Muslim League has nominated Jinnah as the first Governor General of Pakistan. The Mountbatten was so much surprised that he immediately sent telegram to the Prime Minister actually. And next day this was conveyed to Parliament, and I have read in the British Library's records in India office that this news was taken as a bombshell in the British Parliament. But the Secretary of State advised them, and the Prime Minister advised them that we cannot do, we are helpless. Otherwise, Jinnah will blame us for all the things. We have to keep silent and we have to accept. We have no other choice, because Jinnah was such a strong personality. So that was, he was accepted as the designate Governor General of Pakistan. So then we see although they were third in plan, they were not ready to give Constitutional Assembly of Pakistan. It was Jinnah who forced Mountbatten to hold the first session of Constitutional Assembly of Pakistan on 10th August 1947 at Karachi. It was Jinnah who forced them, and on 11th he was elected as the president of the first Constitutional Assembly, and he made a very famous speech, which you all know, that it is in which he talks of the sovereignty of the parliament. And on 12th August, Liaquat Ali Khan moved two resolutions. One was about the flag of Pakistan that was approved by Constitutional Assembly, and the other was that from now henceforth, Mr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah will be called in all public documents as Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And it was in that background that Mountbatten was invited on 13th August, and in the morning of 14th at 9 a.m. The Mountbatten transferred power in the Constitutional Assembly to Quaid. That's how Pakistan came into being.
Dr. Saab, I believe that was something impossible which this particular gentleman ended up doing. And I think whatever we believe, whatever we think, how we live, how Pakistan is progressing, I think this is all because of Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Now, ma'am, coming to you, whenever we hear our Prime Minister Imran Khan Saab, he always talks about Islamic welfare state, exactly the same ideology which Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah had. But ma'am, converting that ideology into a reality, I think that is going to be the super challenge, or is a super challenge. Let's talk about that.
Why super challenge? Why are you saying that it's going to be super challenge?
Because currently it seems that things are so different on ground.
I think we like to see the way you want to see, you're saying, but I see as, look, people of Pakistan here very much practice, they very much practice the Islamic way of living, the Islamic way of, just like Quaid said, that we are different from Hindus. Why we are different from Hindus? Because of our culture, because of our heritage, because of our history. History. So yes, but we are doing so. Do you think if we were in what is happening in Hindustan, in India, how is the way Muslims were now treated at that time? My grandmother used to tell me this sort of horrible stories that once it was announced the independence of Pakistan has been created, so they migrated from here, and she said that reaching to the train compartments, that they crossed pools of blood, and said, and their train, they were their compartment of the train was the only one that reached to Lahore, and all of the people were slaughtered. So it is absolutely why they came here, just because to practice the Islamic way of living, and I think they're very much doing so. We have our Islamic way of, like, the way we celebrate Eid, the way we have what you say, Eid al-Adha. We slaughter animals in the way of God Almighty. So we couldn't practice over there. So there is,
and those who try to even carry a buffalo in their vans or otherwise, I mean, they are slaughtered. They are
till now they are
lynched.
They are lynched. So as far as welfare state is, because at that time Quaid also said that he also said that these problems we're going to face like nepotism, bribe, and corruption. He said at the time that we're going to face these problems and we'll tackle all together, right? But as passing so many years, I think Pakistan had made a lot of progress in that regard. Though we were being, what you can say, disturbed by our enemy many times, our enemy tried to, disable us. But somehow we made it, and I think we are the most prosperous.
And therefore Pakistan is not going to survive for more than 3 months.
Every time, every time we used to hear, I was from very young age, I used to hear that India is attacking and India is saying that, and India says, it didn't happen. Because it is, look at the welfare state right now, what we have done, our government has done. look at we are doing. We have opened. Look at through SR's program. We have gone for, lifting up the poor, especially looking after the poor. We believe looking after the poor and
Sehat card
and ration card and langars and and recently we are looking after farmers, and there's so much we are doing. Just that is the very much policy of welfare state, the way in the times of Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was. So we are absolutely running towards that, and we have taken our direction, and we want that welfare state, that Islamic welfare state actually is. We are absolutely on the road.
There's a long way. There are a lot of challenges also, but as they say, where there is a will, there is a way.
You say, you say that it's a long. I don't think so. It's a long way. It is the only thing we start believing that we are going. Every person has to play a role in it. Every person has to give into it. And I think we have
collective effort.
We are doing so. I think otherwise we haven't progressed this much. The way our population has increased. The way people are, there was a time when I used to see there was just people, there was no car, there were no motorcycle, people used to walk. But now I see, today I hardly made it up here, and I see cars and motorcycles. So there's a progression, I think. And there is a progression, and we are helping our people and relieving our people. So this is I think, running, or I should say, not but entering to a welfare state. There's some what we can say is an extent we are on the welfare state. Look at the armed forces, the way armed forces, the government look after armed forces. The medical facilities and the facilities they are given. There's a way we look after them. The way the people, those who are working at the help of and in the government offices and the poor people. So they are being facilitated. In somehow there is, I think, progress. I see progress.
There is definitely progress, but I think the expectations are that we should have been the actual driver, and we should have been somewhere or somewhat like Malaysia.
But there is a factor. There is one factor which we need to bring before us, and that is increasing population. And the more population we're going to have, the more barriers we're reaching, the barriers of giving them welfare. Now,
interestingly, now when you look at the demographics of Pakistan, Javed Sahab, mostly you'll see youth, youngsters. If they say 60%, the normal practice is going to any bazaar or going to any place, you'll see mostly youngsters there, teenagers, early 20s. That is the major bracket. So we need to channelize their energy. Their energy, which I've just witnessed while coming to work, and they're full of it. It needs to be channelized. Direction should be there. So,
yes, I think if we subject ourselves to introspection and make a critical analysis of what we have done in the last 74 years. And if we look at ourselves from the prism of Quaid-e-Azam's vision about Pakistan, he wanted an Islamic welfare state, a democratic Islamic welfare state. And he urged the Pakistanis at that time to work and work. He was in favor of hard work. And unfortunately, we haven't followed the sayings, the dictates of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the father of the nation. We haven't done it very honestly, and as a result of that, we are lagging behind in so many fields. So you were talking about the youth. Youth is a great hope for Pakistan.
This is what Quaid also said.
Yes, 63%.
During that movement.
According to the statistics, 63% of Pakistani youth ranges from the age 17 to 35. So young people are a huge asset for Pakistan, but they need to be educated. They need to be given the modern education that is required for the progress and prosperity of Pakistan. So we need a lot of funds for that. We need to establish good educational institutions, technical institutions to impart technical education to these young people so they are made productive and they
have some sort of a skill.
And they could contribute in the strengthening of the economy of Pakistan. But unfortunately, we see a lot of joblessness in this country because there is no investment, both foreign and domestic investment in Pakistan. And I think the Prime Minister...
The real productive sectors where
the Prime Minister has said it from time to time that we need to attract foreign investment and the domestic investment which can create jobs for these young people. And if we are unable to provide jobs to these youngsters, the young generation that you are talking about, that will breed frustration. And we can see the signs of that frustration here. So I think what is needed is keeping in view the Quaid-e-Azam's vision about Pakistan, we need to work very hard and we need to be very honest. I think Quaid-e-Azam had visualized very early in the day that corruption will be a big problem in this country. And today, it is the corruption which is eating into the very vitals of our society.
That's the cancer.
So the current government, the PTI government, is facing the challenge of eliminating corruption from the society.
At least they took the challenge.
And that is why the NAB, National Accountability Bureau, is filing reference against the politicians who are supposed to be clean-handed people, who are supposed to be a role model for these young people. But unfortunately, they indulged in corruption, they looted the money and plundered the resources of Pakistan, and that is why we find our economy in shambles. And I think that is the lesson we should learn. And I think the political leaders of this Pakistan, the political parties of Pakistan should try to rededicate themselves to the vision of the Quaid-e-Azam that we are given.
Are we moving in the right direction? Yes, Amal, just quick comment, so please.
I don't think so, because we are forgetting the lesson. The first lesson that we should learn from Quaid-e-Azam is the character, the strong character, the integrity, the selflessness for this country. And that we do not find in the political leadership of this country. And that is why top leaders, some former prime ministers, former party leaders, federal ministers, we find sometimes many of them in the courts facing the corruption charges, and some of them we have seen going to the jails. Although some of them are out on the bail, but I think they haven't proven to be people of character, people of integrity, and that is the problem in Pakistan.
Well, that seems to be the mega problem. And quick comment, and then I'll go to Dr.
Faisal, I just want to say that your question, that it has a broader, what you can say, places. We cannot just give one answer to your question. It has different areas and segments and fragments to it. But one thing that we need to understand is that, look, Pakistan is being, what you can say, the moral fabric and the social fabric of Pakistan was dislodged by different political parties here, because so we have to keep that in mind, what happened to Pakistan after Ayub Khan, right? So we need to keep that, and we've been fighting wars. So Pakistan being disturbed, and we faced so much of terrorism. We went through a lot. What I studied as far as containing to the history of whatever Pakistan has faced so far, and matching with the American history and other foreign history, Pakistan even came out of that, like whatever they've achieved in 1,000 years, or maybe like in 2,000 years, from 13th century to let's make it of 20th century, we did it in 60 years. We've achieved in 60 years, but the areas are broad to be studied and to be, analyzed to understand we nation as a great nation. Our people has done a lot. We cannot just say that we need to channelize, yes, because we know how to channelize, and our young generation know how to channelize. It's only exploding population. We need to handle it, how to control, and how to channelize. That's actually and as far as our youth is concerned, our youth of this age is very vibrant. Very
demographic dividend.
They will do it. Don't worry. They will do it, and they will take us ahead even, for in their endeavors, what they're doing to achieve too. So what we need to is to show them direction, and as he said, Dr. Qaid, we only need to tell them they will channelize themselves once they'll have the best character and education. They will do it. So only that. You cannot, channelize yourself, and everybody together we're going to help. And the government is definitely plays a role in channelizing. We can support, we can open domains.
It needs a collective effort.
Yes.
All the political parties, no matter what sort of differences
they only have to be serious
among themselves, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Pakistan,
together,
they need to be
everybody have to take the country serious, every matter serious, every department.
All right.
Right?
One last quick comment we'll take from Dr. Riaz Ahmad Saab. Riaz Saab, one important factor, since we talk about that Pakistan is the first and the only nuclear power in the world. Pakistan has progressed despite all odds. The way we were sandwiched because of the Indian, I would say, approach, and even on the other border, things were very, very different, very difficult for us. But Alhamdulillah, Pakistan has done a lot. Pakistan has been able to, still progress and move ahead. Now, so a couple of important points. One, the vision of Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah and today's Pakistan. Let's talk about that.
Despite its weaknesses, as pointed out by our panelists, I still see Pakistan as a very important country. It is not only in the Muslim world, but in the whole region. And I have lived in Morocco, Saudi Arabia. You can't imagine how the Muslims, they love this country. This is the only Islamic country having atomic bomb. And this capacity has been duly protected by our army, our security forces, and in the Muslim world, in the name of younger Arabs, they have destroyed a number of armies in the country like Libya, Egypt, Iraq, and others. But here, in our case, the whole world has failed to demoralize our army, because our army, our nation is very strong, and despite these weaknesses, we are still great, and we will emerge still greater according to the vision of Quaid as well as Iqbal. So the days are not far off for me when this great country will become true welfare state and true Islamic country, and that is why India is failing and is conspiring against us right from its very inception in 1947. So I have a great hope, and as rightly pointed out, 65% of our youth is our great hope, and they will make Pakistan as a great country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for your comments. But since we are totally running out of time, ma'am, what a pleasure to have you, and it was great listening to your ideas about this very important subject and topic. I think it should not only be a topic for 14th August or 23rd March or perhaps on the birthday of Quaid. I think this should be a regular feature. Pakistan studies really need certain chapters regarding Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah as a personality to be followed.
Exactly.
And even if we end up following 10% of what Quaid was, I think what a brilliant nation are we talking about?
I think we need to rededicate ourselves as a nation to the vision of Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah and be inspired from his character.
Absolutely, sir. Spot on. And thank you so much, Javed Saab. Always good to have you on the show. So that's all we have for this week. And before I say goodbye, I just want to say that we are blessed and we are very, very, very lucky, I would say, so that we can breathe in an environment which is free. You have freedom. Just imagine and close your eyes for a second and see what is happening in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, or perhaps for that matter in Palestine. And then you'll understand the greatness of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who, despite all odds, honestly speaking, he did not even care for his health, and we all know that he was suffering from tuberculosis, but he gave his life for this country at the end of the day. But before that, he made sure that you and we as humans, as Pakistanis, should have a separate homeland. And I think hats off to Quaid-e-Azam. May he live long as far as his name is concerned, and inshallah, Pakistan Zindabad. Khuda Hafiz.